You are probably asking yourself what could possibly be scary about ice. Well, it's not so much about ice itself, but rather what's growing around the area that forms the cubes and pushes them out. A thick layer of yellow filth has taken over this restaurant ice machine, which is somehow still in service and making ice for customers. I'm not even sure what this specific part of the machine is used for, but I know I regret watching it. The yellow substance has crusted into black mold along the corners. Again, I honestly can't believe this video was recorded in a restaurant that was still open. And that's just what this ice machine looks like on the outside. What's growing inside is even worse. Take a look at this and tell me if you would want this floating anywhere near your cold drink. You'd think the cubes would be absolutely disgusting and easy to spot, but look at this ice. You'd never realize there was much of a problem, or where it really came from. It's a little past 3 AM, and this video is about to get weird, so I'll try to explain things as best I can. For a second, the doorbell camera goes out of focus, and then this weird thing floats across. Not an orb, not a bug, not a bird, no wings that I can see. It's just a big out of place anomaly that the uploader of this video was unable to explain, and I fear I can't do much better. If you've seen anything like this go across your Ring doorbell camera or any other doorbell cameras, then explain what this object floating by was. I'm not the only one who would like to know. Paranormal investigations can be a scary experience in a group, so imagine conducting one all by yourself. The Spectral Researchers of Central Florida is a group dedicated to investigating alleged paranormal activity from across the state. Aside from doing the normal group investigations, members have also gone to locations alone to explore and potentially collect evidence. This is a method often done by paranormal researchers and is therefore more susceptible to encounters. On February 21st, 2021, member Robert ventured to the Hall House, a former assisted living facility. With the help of a Kinect, he ventures through the building hoping the infrared dots on the device will help pick up any unseen entities. 3 minutes into the investigation, Robert captures a thump coming from behind him.
I just heard some big loud thump.
While it could easily be the sound of Robert walking, he has been walking around frequently throughout the video, and not once do his footsteps make a sound resembling such a noise. In fact, they are practically silent. Later, while in another room, Robert accidentally walks into something protruding from the wall. This is understandable as it was pitch black in the house, but what is strange is if you listen closely, you can hear someone whisper what sounds like toe. The voice sounds too high to be Robert's, and it doesn't appear to be his breathing as the voice can be heard happening at the same time Robert is exhaling. Just before the 6-minute mark, he enters a room and asks whose room it was. Well, it is rather faint, an answer comes sounding along the lines of mine.
Again, are you a former resident?
Could whoever used to reside there be confirming it was they who lived there? One possible creepy moment happens when Robert is standing in another room, looking out into the hallway. Several green lights are projecting from a device on the floor to both help Robert see the walls in the dark and potentially capture any entities which might block out some of the beams. As he looks into the hall, it looks as if there is a figure standing at the opposite end. The figure appears to be wearing some sort of gown, which would make sense as this might have been the garments worn by a former resident. Robert doesn't appear to see the figure, possibly because of how dark the room was, and the apparition may have been more visible in the camera's night vision. It can be seen at several other instances when Robert looks down the hallway until it completely vanishes. Close to the halfway point of the investigation, Robert's camera appears to have a malfunction. Without explanation, the focus suddenly becomes fuzzy. Robert notices this and wonders if he accidentally zoomed in. However, us viewers can clearly see he did no such thing, and the vision blurred randomly as he panned over. Ghosts have been known to cause technical faults in electrical equipment, a phenomenon explained as entities drawing energy from the various devices investigators use. This can cause batteries to rapidly drain, lights to flicker, and even equipment to break. Luckily, the picture corrected itself after a minute. The picture returned to normal just as quickly as it had malfunctioned. One commenter points out they heard what they believe sounded like a woman saying, "I see nothing but the darkness as we move." Upon investigation, we could not hear what sounded like a woman speaking, but what it does sound like is the shuffling of feet and even a faint step. Robert is standing still at the time, so it is not him. Have a listen for yourself and see if you can hear the voice. The most compelling evidence comes when Robert can sense someone in the corner of the room. When he points to connect there, the device projects a figure seated, facing towards him.
Hello? Would you be able to tell me your name?
The figure even appears to brace itself against the wall to stand. When Robert asks for a name, the figure appears to either wave or gesture to something. It is difficult to determine which. Robert's investigation of the building definitely paid off with this discovery, and we are hoping the team returns to the location in the future. While not full of activity, there was certainly enough to determine something has remained long after the doors were closed for good. A YouTube channel called Exploring Mysterious India is at an abandoned house that was once occupied by 5 families. Since then, it's rumored to become so dangerously haunted that not even squatters will take their chances. The group worries about snakes in the leaves and thorny forest vines, but the real danger is already watching them from afar. While searching for an entrance, they find this rope tied in a perfect knot next to a water well that looks deep enough to easily hide a body. They find this discarded cross on the floor. Perhaps it was flung from the hands of someone who tried to cleanse this place long ago. A smeared red handprint on the wall gives the impression that no one stays here for long. Sometimes you don't have to catch a spirit on video to convince me that a location is haunted. Between the rope, the well, the handprint, and the cross, I think I have enough evidence to make up my mind on this one. Have you ever played peekaboo with the paranormal? Redditor Paranormal Purgatory has posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit. He writes, an apparition was caught peeking around the door at a 150-year-old farmhouse mansion with tons of EVPs and footsteps, and a child asking for help and wanting us to play. At the moment in question, the Redditor is walking down a hallway when his battery starts running out. As he approaches a room, something is clearly peering around the corner at him. It moves quickly out of sight once it notices that it's been seen. The Redditor shouts "hey" at it. The thing is definitely a figure, not a lens flare, and can't be explained away as some technical glitch. Moreover, the Redditor clearly saw it in reality. The team thinks they, without a doubt, caught something paranormal on camera. Do you? I sure do. It turns out public buses are rife with incidents of alleged possessed people. This one turned up in San Luis, Argentina on June 7th, 2016. A woman sits with her eyes closed, her head rolling around at random, and her mouth opening and closing. She is jerking all over, not once opening her eyes, and a terrible sound is heard at times coming from her mouth. What she is saying, if anything, is indiscernible. She continues jerking around, looking quite possessed, until a man walks forward and shakes her shoulder, attempting to bring her back around. The man says something to her, and she shouts back in her scratchy, possessed voice. He places his hand on her forehead, and that's where the footage ends. Was he attempting an exorcism? Was he doing something more sinister? It seems we'll never know. Remember that footage of the raging Eagle Creek forest fire? Just imagine being in the middle of it, driving right through the very center. While driving, I can only imagine they're wondering whether or not they'll live through this horror, or maybe they've already gone to the other side. In the video, you can barely see the road as smoke rises all over and hellish fire springs up along the roadside. Sparks of embers fly across the windshield, making the viewer feel like they're in the center of a fire pit. You can also see specks of black ash flick across the window. Finally, they make it onto the main road and make a break for it. Although it's still very smoky, slowly but surely the smoke vanishes as they escape the fire zone. That was one scary and wild ride. This creepy kids show is called Mushroomland, and it was apparently broadcast somewhere in Poland decades ago. At first glance, it seems like a fairly innocent program, until you pay attention to what they're actually saying and start to piece together what this material was probably really used for. We follow a girl named Agatha as she learns more about this magical world of Mushroomland. The first episode is called Smile Guide, and I feel like there's subliminal messages the whole time, to the point where I had to take breaks while watching. Like here at 3 minutes and 16 seconds, where it sounds like someone crying in reverse is being played over hypnotic piano notes. The red figure is named Toyfell, her smile guide, and the way they smile at each other at 3 minutes and 28 seconds is unsettling, if not demonic. Toyfell is constantly by her side, getting her attention and distracting her while she tries to cut an apple. This is supposed to be some kind of instructional episode about how to slice an apple, but she seems to be teaching kids to do it all wrong and gets really close to slicing her fingers here instead. The next part made me feel slightly lightheaded. A creepy deep voice, no doubt laced with more subliminal messages, tells us that Mushroomland is a beautiful meadow that will bestow misery upon all who enter. To which Agatha seems to transform into something completely evil looking. Shoulders low as she tells us not to listen. Skip to episode 4, and she is opening mail from other kids who send her their hair, which is something people sometimes do after they take kids captive to prove they really have them. This is also where we meet someone known only as the Jeans Man, an adult who dances with the kids and appears to groom them when their nails and hair grow too long, presumably after being under his watch for a long period of time. How he gets them is never made clear, but some of the letters are from the families of other kids who could have possibly been taken. One of them mentions the 8th anniversary of their passing on. Another note says that someone's niece isn't breathing. By episode 5, Agatha is being prodded awake with a stick, furthering the theory that she's being held against her will. And she's wearing lipstick now, perhaps put on her by the Jeans Man. I think she's being allowed to call her mother here, but the stress of being in captivity leaves her unable to talk, and she disassociates from reality. Toyfell appears again and tells her he's taking her on a field trip, presumably to the meadows, but first she has to do something she really doesn't want to do if she ever wants to get there. Something about these pictures looks a little too real, almost like they're still photos of a real girl screaming. The eyes might also double as a blindfold. Maybe the Jeans Man is a real person who forced her to make this show as a tribute to all of his previous acts. As for what Mushroomland means, I think it's a clever way of saying underground, creepy when you think about it. As for Toyfell, he could have been a way to introduce the underworld to kids in a fun way that they wouldn't understand until it's too late. This was before the internet, so a kid's show would have been the perfect way to do something like this. At any rate, Toyfell seems to be invading Agatha's mind and trying to be cute about it the entire time. Someone could watch this and not even know the underlying meaning. This is the show starring a small impish figure who seems bent on instructing harm. If this series is real, then it seems history is repeating itself. People have sadly been making dangerous instructional videos for many years now. Thank you so much for getting me to 30,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers next. Thank you.